birds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Get moving with Spectrum, because Spectrum has made your big move easier than ever. Simply give us a call and we'll transfer your services. Stay connected throughout your move with Spectrum Mobile, and stay entertained with the Spectrum TV app. With our self-install kit, you can be up and running in minutes. It's your move. Let Spectrum make it a little easier. Schedule your move today. Call 877-280-3229 or visit spectrum.com/moving to learn more about moving offers.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."
I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We have this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet,
we discover
they're a little bit of a lot of things,
but they're all pure love.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free.
Scattered thunderstorms on both sides of the lower 48. Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. As we go into Thursday, we'll be watching out for those pop-up thunderstorms right across the southwest. And flooding certainly is possible in places like Arizona and Colorado and New Mexico. But this here, the eastern half of the country, is where we're expecting the bulk of the scattered showers and the thunderstorms. Unsettled weather pattern here. Thursday morning, starting off with some heavy storms bringing heavy rainfall across the Texas coast and also southwestern Louisiana, and that will be the case as we go throughout the day. But some of that will start to move into the Carolinas, basically across the eastern seaboard for Thursday night. And then as we go into late Thursday, early Friday, we still see some of those storms moving across parts of Texas and Louisiana. Now, you see the excessive rainfall outlook here. It was a light chance of that happening across the south for Wednesday. Doesn't change much a little bit. It eases a little bit, the threat that is, right across parts of the Gulf. And then once we get into Friday, we still see a slight chance for excessive rainfall across the Carolinas here. And then this, a marginal risk for some excessive rainfall because of those pop-up thunderstorms there due to the monsoon. Now, speaking of the tropics, we're always monitoring the storms there. We've got a second named tropical storm here, Bud, for the eastern Pacific. Still very quiet out east. No storms to track, no disturbances to track here. Now, Bud's not going to be a big issue here. We're expecting its projected path to basically stay out in the ocean, away from Mexico, and by Friday, possibly already becoming a remnant low at that point. All right, the next 3 days back here in the lower 48, Bangor, Maine, 70s become 80s with tropical thunderstorms. That's what I would like to say for Thursday, and then drier for Friday and Saturday. Charlotte, North Carolina, thunderstorms in the mix as well to be drier for you, and in Charleston, South Carolina, wet for the next 3 days.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's address to Congress receiving mixed reaction from politicians and protesters. Joining us now for a look at all the political buzz is Alex Cohen. Alex, Netanyahu's visit shows there's still a lot of split opinions on the Israel war, right?
It most certainly does. Bear in mind that there were dozens of lawmakers, Democrats in both the Senate and Congress, who boycotted today's speech, which really had an interesting impact. You know, on the one hand, that is certainly making a statement that they do not condone what Benjamin Netanyahu has been doing to date. On the other hand, it seemed to give almost a unified and unanimous positive response. You know, boisterous applause, multiple standing ovations, no no one there in the room to be quieter or boo or maybe not stand up. So it was a very interesting. Also important to note that the Israeli Prime Minister gave his thanks to both President Biden and former President Donald Trump, both of whom he will be meeting along with Vice President Kamala Harris, who was unable to make it due to a previously scheduled event.
All right, so Alex, switching gears to the presidential election, some uncertainty around the debates with Biden dropping out and Kamala Harris likely taking the nominee. But there's a new date proposal, and it comes at a time when former president is demanding equal airtime.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff, all moving very rapidly. After the first debate that was held on CNN, which many saw as maybe Biden, now Donald Trump calling for a debate on Fox News instead, fearing that ABC, the network that they had initially agreed to when Biden was the nominee, fearing that ABC may not be, in his words, fair enough to his campaign. Also a reminder that President Biden will be giving an address from the Oval Office tonight, and Donald Trump and his team complaining that he too should be given an equal amount of airtime on the networks. Equal time is a rule that is in place. There have been some twists along the way. Interestingly enough, it was a Republican administration that carved out the possibility of, in a news event, which the president and his team is saying tonight is not to necessarily give that equal airtime, because this is now not a candidate in Joe Biden. Complicated times to navigate, to be sure.
It really is. So interesting. Thanks. Lawyers for the man accused of killing 4 students at the University of Idaho in 2022 asks a judge to move his trial out of the county where the crime occurred. Brian Kohlberger's lawyers argue the frequent media coverage and public interest in the case make it impossible for him to get a fair trial. The defense is requesting the trial be moved from Latah County to Boise. Well, prosecutors oppose the move, arguing moving the trial would not affect the jury's familiarity with the case. The man accused of stabbing author Salman Rushdie in Western New York is facing new charges of terrorism. Hadi Matar is already facing state charges of attempted murder and assault for the 2022 attack that critically injured Rushdie and blinded him in one eye. And now new federal indictment claims he was attempting to provide material to support Hezbollah, a militant group based in Lebanon. Jury selection for the state charges is set for October. And Instagram accounts running sextortion scams from Nigeria. About 63,000 Instagram accounts engaging in sexual extortion scams have been removed. And a coordinated network of about 2,500 Facebook groups and pages trying to organize, recruit, and train new scammers have also been taken down. Sexual extortion, or sextortion, involves persuading someone to send explicit photos online, then threatening to make the images public unless they pay money or engage in sexual favors. Let the games begin. We'll bring you a preview of the stars and sports of the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. That's coming up on Spectrum News.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect his help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
So, we learned about Spectrum's advanced Wi-Fi. We talked about Spectrum Internet, state-of-the-art security features. But today, you're gonna learn something different, because our guest is a legend. He's literally shaped the way we think about the internet. Stephen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We know that Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds.
Woo! The most reliable internet speeds. You're not gonna find that in a book.
I wrote a book about it.
You don't need to read it, because you just heard it.
Want the most reliable internet speeds? You want Spectrum One.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. These programs cover visits, prescriptions, shots, and more. As parents, we get peace of mind knowing that our children are covered if they are sick or get injured. You may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if you've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
We live in a country where diabetes and obesity are our biggest health challenges.
A suboptimal diet is the #1 risk factor for dying of a chronic disease.
Black and brown communities experience the highest burden of diabetes.
Access to healthy foods are not an option.
Something's terribly wrong that this is allowed to happen.
Our healthcare system is not sustainable.
This is actually where the hard work begins.
Watch Exploring Your Health, USA 1C, Fighting the Rise of Diabetes, available on all your favorite devices.
Well, the pattern really hasn't changed across the lower 48. We're still looking at cooler than average temperatures out east and hotter than average out west. Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos, and you can see that's where those heat-related advisories are, from Southern California up into portions of the Pacific Northwest, but not so much at the coast. You go inland and you see even this red flag warning there. So very, very dry, low humidities in those areas, and also Northern California has been hot and will be hot once again for Thursday. Look at Sacramento, 100 degrees. But you go out to the coast with that sea breeze there, places like Monterey will be basically in the 60s, and then you go out to the deserts, we're looking at triple digits once again. For Palm Springs and Las Vegas, Salt Lake City in the 90s there. Out in Texas, temperatures have come down because of these storms that will be moving through right along the coast. We got Houston in the low 80s. You go out towards New Orleans, 7. And even when you factor in the humidity, boy, big change, right? I mean, for several days last week, couple of weeks, we've been talking about heat indexes here that were in the triple digits, and not the case because of a large part of these storms coming across. And then even cooler air coming across the Midwest and moving out towards the Northeast. Now, we'll be only in the 80s there in Boston and New York, and that's nice. Not too hot as it was. And even when you factor in the humidity, it's not a big deal there. It's mainly down in Florida where it's going to feel more like it's in the triple digits because of that extra humidity there. All across the country, you can see here, 11 degrees above average, Denver. That's where we're seeing a lot of the hotter than average temps. As I mentioned, below average here by anywhere from 2 to 8 degrees in places like Charlotte and New York. So a lot of 80s for the eastern half of the country, and the 90s in the triple digits out in the desert southwest, including Denver and Albuquerque. And it's all because of this ridge of high pressure that's just been coming across with this system here over the next couple of days, and that'll start to sweep across slowly and help to cool things down, especially in the northern plains. Now, look at the 7 days here. This is Columbus, Ohio. 85 is the average. Look, over the next 7, we stay close to that. We get up to about 88 degrees on Sunday. That's about 3 degrees above the average temperature. Louisville, Kentucky, 89 is your average. And here it's nice to say we're not seeing any extremely hot temperatures. You do get up into the low 90s come next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Dallas and Texas, all below average. Enjoy these 80s. You do get back into the 90s starting on basically Saturday, but right at average Tuesday and Wednesday.
Firefighters in 22 states continue to battle wildfires that threaten communities in Oregon. A stretch of Interstate 84 in eastern Oregon has been closed in both directions. The fire was sparked by lightning last week and has grown to nearly 245,000 acres. Authorities say the fire is so large that it's creating its own weather system. Last week's global IT outage will reportedly cost Fortune 500 companies more than $5 billion in direct losses. That's according to an insurance analysis. The CrowdStrike software glitch affected healthcare and banking sectors the hardest, with an estimated loss of nearly $3 billion. Fortune 500 airlines such as American and United lost a collective $860 million. And Delta Airlines is struggling to recover following thousands of canceled flights and a new investigation by the Department of Transportation. CrowdStrike is pointing to a bug in its testing system that allowed the faulty update to go out. At least 25,000 emergency calls were blocked due to a technical issue that knocked out AT&T services back. Finds the outage happened when AT&T implemented a network change, causing the entire network to enter protect mode. It took at least 12 hours to fully restore service. The nationwide outage blocked more than 92 million calls and disrupted services on 125 million devices. AT&T says it has made changes to prevent it from happening again. The #2 ranked women's tennis player in the world is chosen as the female flag bearer for Team USA at the Paris 2024 Olympics. 20-year-old Coco Gauff will join LeBron James Friday in leading the Americans at the opening ceremony. On Saturday, Gauff will continue with her Olympic debut and compete in the singles and doubles tennis competition. It's almost time to go for gold. The Summer Olympics in Paris begin this week. Thousands of athletes set to compete for a spot on the podium. Spectrum News anchor Marilee Melendez joins us now with a preview of the games in this.
Sharon, the wait is almost over. The opening ceremony for the Summer Olympics are Friday, and the French are pulling out all the stops, or should I say all the boats. Unlike most opening ceremonies, it won't be in a stadium. It will be a parade of boats down the River Seine. It will be the third time France is hosting the Olympics, but it has been a while, the last times being in 1924 and 1900.
How exciting. All right, Marilee, how many sports can we expect in this summer's games and any new ones?
Great question. I'll start with the latter. Olympic breakdancing is the only new sport. It's making its debut in a push to attract a younger audience. Here's a look, though, at some of the numbers for this year's games. There are a total of 32 sports, 329 medal events, and over 10,000 athletes representing 206 national. There are also several new events in existing sports, including kayak cross and kiteboarding. Baseball, softball, and karate will not be returning from the Tokyo Olympics. And get this, Sharon, beach volleyball, which is always a fan favorite, is going to be played at the Eiffel Tower Stadium. Pretty neat.
Oh, wow, that is really neat. All right, so what about Team USA, Marilee?
Well, plenty of athletes for us to cheer for. Team USA has about 600 athletes competing this games. Almost all the states are represented too. 48 states plus Washington, D.C. and the Virgin Islands, with the only 2 states without a hometown athlete being Wyoming and North Dakota. Some of the returning and most well-known athletes, of course, gymnast Simone Biles and also Suni Lee, sprinters Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson, NBA superstar LeBron James, who will be carrying the U.S. flag. Sharon?
So fun. I always look forward to track. That's my favorite. All right. Thanks a lot, Marilee Melendez. I'm Sharon Tazwell. Thanks for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The family's visit to the forest inspired a beautiful question. Mother, mother, am I a tree? You tell me to stand tall. You tell me to stay rooted. I think I am, of course you are. But what kind of tree will you be? The kind to hug or the kind to climb? Doesn't matter what you choose, so long as you choose to be a tree that's kind.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Running a small business means running marketing and sales and inventory and customer service and handling pretty much every single thing that comes up, ever. All-in-one small business owners need all-in-one connectivity to make it all work. Spectrum Business is made to work for small business. Get one advanced solution for the lowest price with Spectrum One for Business. Fast, reliable internet, free advanced Wi-Fi with Security Shield, and a free mobile line, all for only $49.99 per month. You're doing it all and can trust that Spectrum Business has your back with ultra-fast internet and over 99.9% network reliability, plus advanced Wi-Fi with Security Shield to provide 24/7 cyber protection. And get a free mobile line to stay connected all the time. Spectrum One for Business. One advanced solution with all the connectivity your small business needs for the lowest price, only $49.99 per month. Call 855-581-6858 today. Spectrum Business. Made to work.
You are loved. You are valued. You are resilient. You got got this.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving.
Move to exit the race for president here in 2024. President Biden faced pressure from inside his Democratic Party following his poor debate performance against Donald Trump last month. Our team of political experts is here following the president's speech tonight. National political reporter Taylor Popolars is in Charlotte, North Carolina. Washington Bureau reporter Cassie Semyon is at the White House. Political anchor Alex Cohen is in El Segundo, California, and political anchor Tim Boyum is in Raleigh. But first, national political reporter Josh Robin joins me here on set. And Josh, this is a historic address, no matter how you look at it.
It's very rare for a president to not seek re-election, and I expect this is the beginning of a goodbye. He's going to stay in office, but it's something, it's the end, at least, 4 races for president. I don't expect, Errol, that this is going to be an overly political speech. I'm not even sure he'll mention Kamala Harris. If he does, I don't think he's going to go into great detail about it. Ditto about the Republican former President Donald Trump, who's also running for president. One specific that I can say he'll talk about, Errol, is that he is...
Okay, let's go to the White House. Thank you, Josh.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. And we can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this. We are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country, is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence, our planet from climate crisis that is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, secure, and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans, and we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today, we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, the most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. And today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claremont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith, and remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
President Joe Biden addressing the nation, explaining why he does not want to run for re-election, speaking from the resolute desk in the Oval Office, traditionally a place where the most important announcements to the public are made by any American president. Josh Robin, the president has served for 5 decades. He explained why he'll be here for only a few more months. What were your impressions?
My impressions were that he is definitely, this was a goodbye speech, and he obviously has a lot of emotion behind it. He really talked in eloquent terms. I heard some shadows of George Washington's farewell address, farewell letter, and also of John F. Kennedy's inaugural speech about passing the torch to a new generation. He definitely made this clear, even though he didn't get into politics, as I suspected he wouldn't too much, that Kamala Harris is the right person to carry on the torch of liberty, as he put it, and also his particular agenda, everything from stopping gun violence or cracking down on illegal guns and changing gun laws, to bolstering NATO, to really some of the bigger issues like protecting democracy itself. There were some lines here that'll probably stand the test of history, at least for a number of decades. Not about me, it's about you. Character in public life still matters. We're a great nation because we're good people. And it was very clear, finally, Errol, that this was, even though he didn't mention Donald Trump by name, he said the former administration, that he believed and continues to believe that Donald Trump poses really an existential threat to the fabric of our country. And he's warning Americans and says that it is up to you whether you want to keep this republic, as Benjamin Franklin so famously said after the Constitutional Convention.
And as much out of personal political pride as to perhaps help Kamala Harris, he ticked off some of the greatest hits of his administration, what he thinks they deserve credit for, starting with the economy.
Yes, and I think that's important because there has been a lot of polling that suggested that people see the Trump administration as maybe better than they did 3-4 years ago, that they have more faith in the former president to handle the economy. people perhaps don't remember the fencing and the troops during the inauguration or the throes of the pandemic or so on. People obviously have different opinions about all of that, but he's trying to remind individuals, look, I came in when this was a horrible time, and we actually got a lot of things done. To get to your point, Errol, one other line, nothing could come in the way of saving our democracy, and that includes personal ambition. He's saying, I'm putting my personal ambition aside.
Yeah, very interesting, saying that he wanted to unite first his party and then the nation. Thanks very much, Josh. Meanwhile, a few hundred miles from the White House, former President Donald Trump has been campaigning in Charlotte, North Carolina this evening. And that's where we find our national political reporter, Taylor Popolars. Taylor, this was the first time that we've heard Trump speak since Biden made that announcement on Sunday. How did the rally feel compared to others that you've been to?
So, Errol, this one was obviously a bit different. The former president just left the stage a short time ago. He spoke for about an hour and a half, and this arena here in Charlotte, North Carolina was packed with thousands of people. But